There's a recent article showing the range loss of the most popular electric cars in the United States and, well, the most popular electric cars in Australia, New Zealand, Germany, France, the UK, Switzerland, Norway. Yeah, you get my point. The most popular electric cars were tested and found to be, well, some of them were found very much wanting. In fact, Volkswagen's ID4 was found to be the absolute worst. And I mean, lately it's been a bit unfair for Volkswagen, hasn't it? They've been underperforming, overpromising when it comes to software at least. And now, well, frankly, unfortunately for them, they got the wooden spoon. That means last place. Now, the key reason why is because the Toyota bZ4X and the Subaru Solterra were not tested in this comparison. If they had have been, I'm pretty much guarantee you they would have come in last. So the question is, we know who was last, who was first? Do you reckon you can guess? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Welcome to all the new subscribers and welcome back everyone else. Thank you for tuning in. By the way, if you're new to the channel, my voice isn't normally like this. It's normally not so hoarse, at least most of the time anyway. Now, I would actually disclose to you where I saw the article with all this information, but I don't want to because I think they're shills for the oil and gas industry. And they're doing, well, a lot, unfortunately, to kind of ruin the electric vehicle movement. So I'm not gonna even mention this website anymore in the future. I've done it in the past and it's time I stop because frankly, I've had enough of their antics. It's very anti-EV. So why do electric cars perform worse in winter or in cold temperatures versus in summer or in, normal temperatures? I mean, you probably have the same problem with your phone battery. When I go hiking in the mountains and it's really cold, sometimes my phone, even though it's got, 30+% battery, will just turn itself off. I've got to put it in a sleeping bag or put it in my shirt or something, warm it up to get it to turn on. It doesn't always work, but it sometimes does. Current battery chemistry in lithium-ion cells requires a liquid electrolyte and reactions to occur in order for an EV's battery modules to deliver electricity in the form of range for your journey. Colder temperatures in winter slow those physical and chemical reactions down, resulting in less available range. Another reason for winter range loss is the efficiency of the electric motor itself. Compared to traditional internal combustion engine vehicles, EVs are much more efficient in their energy usage. For example, much of the heat produced during engine combustion goes to waste, but can be redirected to heat the cabin of your vehicle. That's why features like remote start are popular in cold climates, so your engine and cabin have time to warm up before you depart. Now, the truth is, for those of you unaware, electric cars are usually around about 90% efficient when it comes to actually converting energy into forward propulsion. But gasoline and diesel-powered cars are usually around about maybe 22 to 26% efficient. It's just a huge difference in efficiency. The other benefit of EV motors, they produce less excess heat, especially when charging at home and converting AC power to DC. However, that heat produced is used to warm the EV's battery to prevent long-term damage and, of course, also to maximize your range. I'm sure you've heard before of how cars sometimes perform their best, EVs, sometimes they need a pre-warming of the battery. Battery preconditioning on a home charger and the widespread implementation of heat pumps, except in some cars, in fact, quite a few EVs don't have them. A lot of people think that Tesla is just doing what everyone else does. Everyone has heat pumps, don't they? No. In fact, most EVs don't. My EV doesn't have a heat pump, for example. However, the implementation of heat pumps has significantly helped EVs drive longer and more efficiently in winter conditions. But until solid-state batteries truly scale up and become mainstream, which actually might never happen, the cold will remain an inhibitor of EV range. And you can see in this test here, right, that the vehicles with heat pumps perform better than those without them. Now, this study of winter range was actually carried out by Recurrent. They compared 13 popular electric vehicles, which allowed them to draw conclusions about an individual vehicle's current range, how that range will fluctuate in different conditions, and how it compares to hundreds of thousands of similar vehicles. For this test, Recurrent aggregated and anonymized data from 7,000 vehicles in its electric vehicle community, as well as tens of thousands of data points from an onboard devices that provide data on energy usage. The result is both estimated and verified range loss in EVs comparing temperatures of 70 Fahrenheit to 20 to 30 Fahrenheit. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind in this test that people very rarely point out, most batteries in most cars, not all, but most of them, when it says 0% on the actual dashboard, it says the battery is now at 0%, right? Probably never happened to you, but if it does, some vehicles can continue to drive for a fair way. For example, Tesla vehicles can do usually around 30 miles after it says 0. Most, not all, but most of the competition basically will stop at 0. So that's one little trick with your Tesla. If you get to 0, don't worry, you can probably drive for around about another 30 miles for most models. Now, there's some estimated winter range loss done by Recurrent, which is complete and utter baloney. It's absolute nonsense because it's so ridiculous, so far-fetched, it's just not even remotely possible. For example, the Chevy Bolt apparently will lose 32% of its range, according to Recurrent, in the theoretical real world. I don't know how they make that up, but anyhow, I think that's ridiculous. The reason it's so ridiculous is because the number they returned for the Jaguar I-Pace was so ridiculously optimistic. They're saying the I-Pace will do only 3% less range in very cold temperatures. That's just completely unfeasible. I don't think anyone with a brain in their head would actually believe that. So ignore the cases here of the vehicles where there's a theoretical range. Let's just look at the ones where they actually did test the cars in the cold temperatures. Those were the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Nissan Leaf, the Tesla Model 3, the Tesla Model S, the Tesla Model X, the Tesla Model Y, and the Volkswagen ID4. Now, clearly, you can easily see here, the Volkswagen ID4 was last with 30% range loss compared to its use when it's warm or when it's a normal temperature. There's one key reason why the ID4 performs so badly. It's a bucket of junk. No, I'm just kidding, just joking. It doesn't have a heat pump. So therefore it's much less efficient in cold weather. It's going to be the same, generally pretty much going to be the same for all electric cars without a heat pump. They won't work quite as well in cold weather as those with a heat pump. Now, as you can see here, clearly the Tesla Model Y did win this test by losing only 18% range, which I thought was a really, really good result. However, surprisingly, the Nissan Leaf also performed quite well, only losing 21% in range loss, but that still meant it was behind the Tesla Model X, which was down by 19%. And after the Nissan Leaf, you can see here the Tesla Model 3 was down 22%, followed by the Tesla Model S, which was down 25%. Now, if this long-range version of the Tesla's Model Y, if that was only a rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, let's just say, because Tesla doesn't do front-wheel drive, let's say that was only a rear-wheel drive motor like the standard range model, which is sold in most countries around the world is, it would be significantly more efficient by having only one motor to carry around and only one motor which is sending drive to the wheels. But, of course, it wouldn't be anywhere near as good in cold climates where you might find snow, icy roads, etc. And that, of course, is the Achilles heel of the Nissan Leaf. It is a front-wheel drive vehicle, so clearly it's not going to perform as well in those slippery conditions, but that does give it an advantage because it's only got one motor. Generally, cars with one motor, in fact, almost always, they'll be more efficient than cars with two motors. Now, these results aren't really fair. They're not fair because, well, they're old. Why do I say they're old? Well, we don't actually know the age of any of these cars, but we do know the Model X tested here was several years old. It's the 75D model, which hasn't been on the market for many years. And the Model S was the P100D, which is also the old model of the Tesla Model S. I'm going to guess the Model X and the Model S would probably win this test if they were using Tesla's newer models. Now, getting back to the Volkswagen ID4. As you can see in this test, the Volkswagen ID4 had a fair bit less range in cold weather than the Tesla Model Y. But the ID4's battery pack is quite a bit bigger than the Model Y. It's 82 kilowatt hour battery pack, whereas the Tesla's battery pack is around 7 kilowatt hours smaller, meaning 10% smaller. So what gives? What's going on? Well, the ID4 is simply a heavier car. Even though it's significantly smaller than the Tesla Model Y, in fact, a lot smaller, it actually weighs 100 kilos more. And also, of course, there's other factors such as motor efficiency and those sorts of things. And clearly, Tesla Model Y having a heat pump and having a lighter chassis and a lighter overall body of the car is able to get more range. It's one of the key reasons why Tesla vehicles are still so popular, even with all the current controversy going around. So as you can see, Tesla's clearly still doing very well when it comes to electric vehicle efficiency. I think they're very clearly leading the pack here. Now, of course, these vehicles were tested in the United States. You might be able to find ID4s with a heat pump in other countries around the world. I'm not really sure on that. Depends on what country you're buying it in, because of course the ID4 it comes in different specifications in different countries. One key thing worth remembering though is Volkswagen is very much aware of the software issues in the ID4. That's definitely an issue you need to consider when you buy one, that you may very well have some pretty significant issues when it comes to the actual infotainment system, turning it off and on, and various other phantoms that many people have talked about on their YouTube channels. If you're going to get a Volkswagen EV, it's definitely worth waiting around for the next model. The next generation will probably be significantly better than this model. Now let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Did this test surprise you, or was it pretty much the results that you expected? Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.